Hold up. If we're live, I don't know it yet because oh yeah. Okay, now I know it. I had to bring up the right application that tells me whether we're live or not. Oh my gosh, I love that. So in any case, here I am, Lori Swanson, CEO of Inspire Tech and the founder of Career Alchemy Academy. It's a membership community where women gather to to the point of what we're talking about today, to pursue their career dreams, whether they are right in it right now, or it's off in the distance, a flicker, but they want to give it some level of attention, even if they're not ready to take a lot of the outward action that might come with someone who's on a job search or fully in the career pivot. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. I call it not ready for your to change your career yet, but you want to let that career dream know that you're listening. But before I do all of that, I want to point out the QR code behind me, or go to inspihertech.com, inspiretech.com, under the resources section, and you will also find this link to next Friday, May 23rd's noon Central Time, live event. It's free, and I'll be interviewing Janine Firpo, the author of Activate Your Money, and also, and let me read the subtitle on that. Activate Your Money, Invest to Grow Your Wealth and Build a Better World. So she talks about, specifically about, as women, how we care deeply for our families, our communities, and the world, and what we leave behind. And our money is too often an afterthought. So this was one of the, what do you call those things? This is so funny. I don't know this, given what I'm going to talk about today. The sort of like the testimonials that are on the back of the book cover. And so this particular person, Marcy Shimoff, who you may have heard of, she's an author, and of things like Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul and Happy for No Reason. She's pretty cool. I've seen her through Hay House, which is a publishing imprint, which I will talk about in a second. So what she says here is, for women, our money is too often an afterthought, and Activate Your Money brings these worlds together. The worlds where we care deeply for our families and our communities, and we want to build wealth and leave wealth generationally, right? And we want to use our money in ways that have us feeling not only good about the fact that we are, and if you saw the special report from last week, and I'm sure you can still get it below, or the blog is on my website, the special report on the flow of money and how that's something that's really important. And I think that if you gave a woman $10, that they would take that money and flow it right back into their families and their communities, right? But there's something about the power of money coming into us, and then us proactively making decisions on how we're going to use that money, not just for our own pleasure, which is one very good way to use it, and not just to sustain our lifestyle and our families, also very good uses, but also how we continue to improve the world and the communities outside of our central unit. That's the power of the flow of money. So Janine's going to come on. I'm going to ask her questions about her career path, how she went from being, in tech at Apple back in the day to having not only become an author, but also has an organization, nonprofit, called Invest for Better, of which I am a member and part of one of their Invest for Better circles, where you learn about money, you ask questions about money. It isn't investment advice or anything, but it's just a place to build knowledge. And then when you have knowledge, you have power. And then you can, as a woman, make the decisions that feel right for you on how your money is used, and especially how it's invested, what sorts of companies you're investing in, and that sort of thing. So that's what's happening. So go to the QR code over my shoulder or go to the website, sign up. It's free. Tell all your friends, all the women in your lives to come and be part of this conversation. Bring your questions. There will be plenty of time for Q&A after we learn a little bit more about Janine's journey. Then we're going to open it right up to questions. So it's going to be very interactive, and I'd love to see you there. Now, today's broadcast, what I want to talk to you about today is what I call it's for those of you out there. And if you're out there and you've thought to yourself, I really do want to change my career circumstances, but I just don't feel ready yet. That's what I want to talk to you about. Like you might know that you want to change your career, pivot your career in some way, maybe change industries, maybe change roles, maybe go from profit to nonprofit, go from nonprofit back into private, maybe, up level it or get out of management and down level it a little bit for whatever reason. It's like, you can feel it, right? When there's a change in the making, but you also, are not quite ready for it. So what I want to talk to you about today is that's normal. I want to say that's normal, and that you can have the dream and let the dream know that you're listening to it, that you're not ignoring it, that you realize and recognize it's out there, even though you're not taking what would be considered deliberate action steps towards making a dream happen right now. So for example, for me, I know I want to write a book. I've wanted to write a book for a long time. I've got a few different books sitting out on my computer that I've started, but not completed. I actually did complete a children's book and sent it out and got rejected like 32 times. And it's okay. It was a lot of fun. That was my goal, was to write a little children's book, complete it, and then figure out what I needed to do to get it in front of publishers. And most of them, or agents, and most of them didn't reply, but a couple did. And even though they were rejections, I was very, more than a couple rejected me. And I was grateful for that. So in any case, but for the most part, I have a dream of writing. And right now, I really want to write a book that is, that talks to both the, that blends career with the career nudge, the sort of spirit-centered approach that I use as I support people both on one-on-one coaching and through Career Alchemy Academy. So I want to write this book, right? I've wanted to write it. But I just don't feel quite ready to prioritize the time that it takes to write a book. I'm just, life is happening, right? I've got other things that are in my opinion right now, and it's not avoidance. It's I thought to myself, how do I want to spend my time right now? And do I want to, because I know that if I wanted to write the book right now, I'd figure out how to make the time to do it, but instead I've got some other things that I actually want to do for the next few months for sure, with regards to Career Alchemy Academy, specifically making the onboarding process really simple and clear. Right now it's good, but it could be great. And I've got the ideas about how to take it from good to great. And so that's what I'm working on in the next few months, is making that happen. So as people join Career Alchemy Academy, and as I always encourage you to do, you will have, certain steps that you're going to do right away, so that when you enter your first call, you will never feel left behind. You're going to feel like, oh, okay, I know I'm joining this community as if I've been here for years. That's sort of the vibe that I want people to have when they enter Career Alchemy Academy and join that community, because it's so fabulous. And I would never want someone to feel like they don't belong, or that it takes a while to feel like you belong. So I'm creating that. So that's where I want to put my priority right now. But the book dream is still there, right? And I don't want it to feel like I'm ignoring it, because I'm deprioritizing it, right? And so how do I do that is I go about preparing the ground like many of us are doing right now for our vegetable gardens and we're planting all the flowers and weeding and putting down mulch. I mean, it's that time of year, right? But this is the same thing you can do for your career dream. And what I've been doing for my book dream is preparing the ground. So uh how do I do that? Well, number one, I read a lot. I love books of all kinds, but now I have a little bit of a different, um, uh, I guess, lens on as I'm reading it, even though I don't read with my glasses at all, but you know what I'm saying. So now what did I do? Meaning that it isn't just for pleasure or even for inspiration. I read books for I'm all down the near-death experience rabbit hole in books right now. There will be blogs about that, I am sure. But so I read for that sort of like inspiration and you know, reconnecting me to my spiritual path. I read memoirs, especially memoirs of people overcoming things. I love all of those. Um, you know, I read because if you've been here a while, you know that there is not a rom-com that I would turn off. Like I love romantic comedies and I love books that are I like romance novels. I do sort of have a bit of a bar, like I like decent writing. And so at least it has to be decent at the minimum. I like exceptional writing as well, but if I'm reading a romance, I like it to be decently written, and then I'll read it. So I read a lot and I read for pleasure and inspiration and education. I'm reading a lot of money books right now. I just got Lewis Howes' new book, Make Money Easy. Of course, Activate Your Money, which I already talked about. It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver is one of my favorites. The Energy of Money, The Soul of Money. I'm just rereading, that's Lynn Twist, I think. I'm rereading all of these money books right now. Um, and so in learning things, and I would definitely say like there's a difference between maybe a Tosha Silver or even a Lynn Twist, which is about the vibe of money, and actually how what it the energy of money means versus Janine's, which is much more practical. Like you get to learn about different types of um, assets that you could invest in and what it means, and you get to learn about financial advisors and what to look for. So a lot more of that practical stuff, which I think is equally as important, because here we are in living here on Earth, right? So we have to take the both sides, and so I read a lot for all of those reasons, but I also am now looking at, especially because I'm planning to write what they call a teaching memoir, meaning that I'm going to, probably deliver a few lessons or like my blogs. I'm always like, try this, do these 3 steps, right? Take this homework. So that's probably going to be, because that's kind of how I write anyways, that'll be my book. And I heard, and I think it was Hay House say, we call this a teaching memoir. And even though I think in general, memoirs, there's something about a memoir that inspires, which is a way of teaching that changes you, that opens up your perspective, right? That's all like under the teaching umbrella. And so I'm looking at, as I read now, not just for pleasure, but also for, how did they start that chapter? Why am I at the end of this chapter and okay with putting the book down versus in another chapter, perhaps in another book by another author, I get to the end of the chapter and I'm like, okay, one more chapter. And those of you who read know what I'm talking about. Like there are some that they just they're just magical about how they set up the whole arc of just a chapter, much less the larger arc of the story that they're telling in the book. And so I'm looking at it and seeing how they're doing that and paying attention to how they describe the setting and the people so that I'm visioning them in my head, right? I want to be that sort of author, which I know I probably won't happen right out of the gate. And a teaching memoir is a little bit different than fiction, where you do more of that. But in any case, I'm just paying attention to how memoirs are written, how nonfiction is written, how fiction is written, both getting joy out of it, learning from it, being inspired by it, but also the learning isn't just in what they're trying to teach, but also in, without them even knowing it, how they've written their book, which is teaching me and informing me. So that's one way I'm not ignoring my dream. Another thing I do is I attend author readings. So I've been to Kristen Hanna, Martha Beck, Elizabeth Gilbert, David Sedaris. Back in the day, I went and saw Jim Carroll, who you may or may not know, probably not. He had like a he's just a he had the Basketball Diaries movie with Leo DiCaprio was based on Jim Carroll. He wrote the book called The Basketball Diaries. So those of you who love Leo would know that movie, but you may not know that that was actually based on a book written by Jim Carroll. And years ago, my husband and I went and saw him, and just watching him read a chapter that he wrote about his life and the flourishment, I don't know if that's a word, but I've used it for a long, I want it to be entered into Merriam-Webster with my name attached. It's sort of like nourishment and flourishing mashup, but just the flourishment that he's giving to the story. I mean, in any of these authors. Plus, you have opportunities to ask them specific questions about the story, and so I love going to author nights and hearing about their books. I attended a 3-day workshop at Hay House. So I mentioned Hay House as an imprint, and a lot of books like Wayne Dyer's books came out of there, and I think a lot of those. It was started by Louise Hay, who's like the grandmother of the motivational spiritual book and even industry. And so I went and I did a 3-day workshop with them where they talked about, they weren't just selling Hay House, but they were talking about the art of publishing and self-publishing versus publishing through a house, and getting an agent, and do you need a large Instagram following or social media following in order to get anyone interested? And so they talked about just a lot of those practical details about getting a book published. And I thought, hey, this is something that I want to know. I just want to know it, file it away, right? Another way that I'm making sure my dream to write a book knows that I'm paying attention is that I joined a writing club. So I just joined this writing club. I didn't even know what to expect. I thought we were going to write when we got there. Like I thought we'd spend the 2 hours writing, but no, in fact, different people in the group, whoever wanted to, read what they'd written and then asked for specific feedback or general feedback, whatever they could get. And even I read nothing, of course, and I've written really nothing that I want. I don't know. I might go to this writing club for a year and still have not brought anything in to read, because I'm prioritizing Career Alchemy Academy right now, not writing for my book. But I also think this might inspire me to do it more quickly, because I would at some point, even though it's vulnerable, I would like to read some of my writing out loud and hear what they have to say. And so we got to hear other people's works in progress and give them feedback. And I learned so much just by hearing why someone chose a certain way to do something, why someone was suggesting perhaps a different way to do it. They can take it or leave it, but it was just really fascinating to be a part of that. I also am in a book club. I've been in book clubs for, decades. As part of this, technically we're going to be discussing a book within Career Alchemy Academy, but in the past, the predecessor to Career Alchemy Academy was in part was Unstoppable. And so for 3 years, I did the Unstoppable series, and we did a few book discussions in there. And I have a women's group that I started over 25 years ago this year, I think, 24 years ago, maybe this year. And we do usually once a year, we'll do a book discussion. And I've been a part of book clubs and I've led book discussions. I really enjoy that. And I think that this helps me because I get to hear how different readers of a novel um, interpret it, what they like, what they don't like. Again, it's all just percolating inside of me and has me thinking about things. I hired someone at one point last year to help me create an outline for what I think will be my book. And it might not look exactly like that outline right today, but what I can say, the reason I decided to get someone to help me is one, I have a dream of writing a book. Two, I have all this stuff swirling around, and I had the sense that that was one of the things that was stopping me from moving forward. And this, you can totally probably relate when you're talking about a job search or career pivot. I thought to myself, this is sort of stopping me from moving forward because it's all swirling around. I just wanted to get it out of my head and into some sort of organized format. And I'll talk about that when I give some suggestions about how to pay attention to your career dream. I've got a good one for you. But that is one of the things I did. And I've created this outline. And like I said, it might not be the exact outline that I follow with the book, but it gave me a good understanding of how to create an outline. It took a lot of the nuggets from my head that I wanted to teach on in my teaching memoir and put them into an order. And again, I may expand on it. I may eliminate some when I get there. You know, life keeps moving. I keep growing and learning and evolving, and so the outline will also evolve is not surprising, right? So these are just a few ways that I say, hey, dream, I'm listening to you. I am not ignoring you. I am not ignoring you. I am nurturing you through these other avenues, even though I don't have pen to paper yet or fingers to keyboard. Or voice to text, which is actually probably how I'll write my book. I've started doing that with my blogs and I love it because I have all those ideas, right? So how do you, if you have a career dream that you're not quite ready to pursue, but you also don't want to ignore it, you want to let it know, like, I feel you, I feel the career nudge, which may be the subtitle of my book, by the way. Like, you feel that nudge, but you're not ready to act on it. And it could be that you're afraid, and that's something to work on. But it also could be that life is happening and other, kids are graduating from college or high school, or, who knows, big project at work that's a multi-year project that you're leading or co-leading, and you wouldn't want to make a change until you launch that project and resolved any issues that come after the launch so that you feel really good about it. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. Maybe you're downsizing your house. Maybe you're preparing for empty nesting and then you'll prepare for the career change. Maybe, I don't know. I could go on and on, but you know what I'm saying. There could be a number of reasons where the career change, whatever that looks like, the pivot, the adjustment, the elevation into your own business, like all of those things aren't happening quite yet. But again, there's inside of you is this, what if I'd like that? That seems intriguing. I really do want to change, right? So how do I want to give you like 3 ways to let your career dream, that nudge you're feeling, know that you felt it, that you're listening to it, and that you're prioritizing it, but not quite in the active, what I need to do to, let's just use job search because everyone's been on a job search, so I'm not like actively putting my resume together and applying to jobs right now. But I'm also not ignoring this career dream. So one thing you can do is write an ideal role description. So we have a webinar inside of Career Alchemy Academy. It's in our in the library of different webinars that you have access to when you join. And that's similar to what I was talking about when I wrote that outline. Is there's all these things that are swirling around that would be like, you think to yourself, gosh, this would be my ideal dream job. This would be the thing that these are the ways in which I'd keep using my gifts and skills and abilities that I already have. These are some new ones that I want to develop. And this is how I want to serve in the world. This is the type of work I want to be doing for the type of company I want to be working for, or starting my own company. This is the product or service that I want to be involved in. This is the impact that I want to have. This is the money that I want to earn, like all of those things. So there's a webinar, like I said, that walks you through writing your own ideal role description, but you can just do it, just start to write and create what this career dream, if you just said, okay, just tell me a little more about yourself, career dream. What is it that you want to bring into the world? What is it that you're nudging me about? What's, if your voice could be heard right now, what would you say? And just journal about it and create sort of this ideal role description. The second thing that I think is really important, and again, very much related to what I've been doing, is read career pivot stories. There's one called Hammerhead, at the making of a carpenter, and that woman's pivot is fascinating. And there's lots of those out there. Just Google it, or search it up on the interwebs, and or on Amazon or wherever you want to go, and just looking for people who've made dramatic career pivots are really fun to read. Even for me, from a technologist at the very beginning of my career, and admittedly not for a long time, but then I moved into sales, which was different, and now I'm a coach, right? So all these different pivots along the way. But reading about those stories can give you some inspiration, and also you'll learn some of their missteps or how they went about preparing the ground for the pivot. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is always, find a community. Like, I joined into book club. I'm in a writing group. And of course, I highly, highly suggest that even if you're not ready for the big career pivot, being inside of Career Alchemy Academy is absolutely what your career dream needs, so that it knows that it is a priority, it is important to you, you are not ignoring it. So join Career Alchemy Academy today. The price is going to be going up soon, this month. I don't know, May 15th is today. I was originally thinking today, but I don't think, just because some other things, that we've had a chance to make the change on the website. So get in there and do it, because I'm coming off of, we are over past 6 months now. I celebrated that a few sessions ago. And I always knew that, the value of what we've been building, and also what's coming, that my introductory pricing would be going away. But right now it's probably still on the website. So grab it. And that's happening. And that joining a community like Career Alchemy Academy, surrounding yourself with other women who are at different points within their own career journey, career change journey, is just so inspiring. It will keep your dream alive. Plus, you have people to brainstorm with, or to explore with, ask questions of. So I can't say enough about Career Alchemy Academy, but a community of women in general. So whether your next move is just around the corner or still a distant dream, create an ideal role description, read about other people making, big, bold moves or small, little moves in their career that made big differences in their lives, and join Career Alchemy Academy. That's it. There's only 3 things. Simple, right? So that's it for us today. Thank you for joining me here live on LinkedIn. DM me if you want to schedule a call, if you're interested in private coaching, or just join Career Alchemy Academy. Every Tuesday we meet for coaching. We have a private Facebook group where you can get answers all the time from me, from the community. We have Thursdays starting in 30 minutes. Every Thursday for an hour, we come together, cameras off, and we just work on shit. Oh, can I say that? Work on stuff. Hopefully LinkedIn's not gonna ban me. You know what I'm saying. So we just work on whatever it is. So doesn't have to be, you know, career dream. It doesn't have to be career job. It could be making those dental appointments for the kids, or getting the car in. I've got to do that today. I'm going to get my car in for its B1 service because it just showed up on my dashboard, and it didn't just show up. Okay, it showed up about 6 weeks ago. I still haven't done anything. Today's the day, and that's one of the powerful magic of every Thursday co-working inside of Career Alchemy Academy is that we're coming together and we make our commitment in chat. And then, like I said, cameras off, eating lunch, doing the things that help to relieve a little bit of the burden that sometimes come with knowing that there's stuff undone. And now you have this hour of focus time to just check, check, check. Feels so good. So that's it for us today. As always, peace, love, and community. I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, this month I have a lot of different times. So on the resources page on the website, sign up for Inspirations, my blog. It will then send you reminders about LinkedIn Lives, or it's in the blog every Monday when it comes out. And or look here, and we usually have it posted, I believe. So that's it. That's it for today. Talk soon. Stay inspired.